Good evening. Again, my name is Kirby Spivey. Thank you for joining me on this 10-minute Bible study message. Tonight we're going to be covering Joshua chapter 2 from verses 12 to the end of the chapter. If you missed part 1 of Joshua 2 that I covered last week in the study, probably a good idea for you to go back and just see how I'm reading and interpreting the passage. It'll help you to understand tonight's even more. It's always good when you're reading the Bible to check out the context so you can get a full understanding of what's going on in the biblical narrative. So tonight I'm going to pick up right in verse 12 of Joshua chapter 2. This is the scene and the setting that will help you to understand what's going on even as we move along. So the scene kind of picks up with Rahab and the two spies up on her roof. Why are they up in the roof? Because the king's men have come to her place. They find out that the spies have come into the land, and they're looking for them. They're looking for them because it says, I think that's verse number 2, that these spies have come to spy out the whole land, and the king has sent men to basically kill them. So the city has been shut down. The city gates have been closed. An APB has been put for the two spies, all points bulletin. Where are these two men? They're hiding up on Rahab's roof. And so we find first a very interesting partnership. A very interesting partnership shows itself in the passage right there in verse number 12. It's right in the interaction between Rahab and the two spies. Rahab is defined in verse number 2 as a prostitute. She's redeemed in verse number 4. That might be an interesting thing that you want to look at. Verse 2 says she's a prostitute, but then the definition in verse number 4 changes. She's no longer a prostitute, or at least she's not defined as a prostitute. She's defined in verse 4 as a woman. So here is this prostitute, Rahab. We're in her house, which we can assume is a brothel, and the two spies who represent Israel's army. So it's a very interesting partnership between the things that we would possibly consider godly or God's team, God's soldier, and a woman whose profession is ungodly. We wouldn't necessarily partner those things up. We wouldn't put those two things together. But it's very interesting that they link up, and they link up for the purpose of both of their escape. Rahab needs an escape because she's been locked in a life of prostitution. Not only that, we know because of the narrator and because of the spies that Israel's army is coming. Jericho is the first stop on the conquest of the land of Canaan. It's the first place in the promised land where the children of Israel will go. And so Rahab needs an escape because her city is about to be destroyed. And so she needs a way out after the destruction of her city. The spies need an escape because, as I've said, the king's men are searching for them to kill them. And so here they are, both of them in two separate situations, need an escape because they are stuck. Rahab's stuck in the life that she's been living. The spies are stuck in Rahab's house. They're stuck in the city. They can't get out. How interesting it is when God puts us with peculiar people sometimes in problematic situations where we can be a help to one another. Oftentimes we use judgment, we have condemnation, we say we don't want to associate with this type of person, that type of person. We use all types of delineations. We do social class, race, anything you want to think of really to separate people. But here in the passage we find it's very intriguing to me. Two people, worlds apart, different cultures, different religions, come together to form a partnership, and a partnership for the purpose of their mutual liberation. We need to think more like that in this world, in this day and time, thinking not just so selfishly, but how can I partner with somebody to make the world a better place, not just for myself, but the people around me? How can I help somebody get in a better position where they are? It's the first thing I noticed. Second thing I noticed is interesting partnership. But then I noticed that Rahab intercedes in an amazing way. If you look at the passage, if you look at the passage, she almost doesn't even mention herself. She is negotiating with the spies. Yes, she will be included, but it's all about her family. It's all about her loved ones. How can she deliver her loved ones from the destruction that is about to befall her city? Rahab stands in the gap. Rahab is the intermediary. Rahab exemplifies what intercessory prayer is all about. You know, our life, our faith, everything in our world, especially in the West, has become so individualized. It's all about me. Have it your way. But Rahab doesn't take any thought for herself. She's thinking about her family. She's thinking about what can she do to get her family out of the situation they find themselves in. And this is a very interesting point for us as believers, as people. What can I do? What can we do? Not for myself, not to save myself, but what can I do to pray for my family, to put my family in a better position, to make sure that my family is safe and secure? Rahab puts her life on the line by going against her country, going against everything that she has ever known to save her family. We need to develop a posture where we're praying for others, we're helping others. Jesus said it very clear. They will know that we are Christians. They will know that we are part of the way by our love, how we treat other people, not just ourselves. So, there's an interesting partnership, intercessory prayer. Then, as we look at the text, something amazing happens. They do this partnership. They make this deal, and this is how it is. Rahab lets the two spies down by a scarlet cord. And she says, when you come back, remember me and my family. The spies in return say back to Rahab, we will honor our word to you, but everybody in your family that you're trying to save has to be in your house. And use the same scarlet cord that you have let us down with. This will be the sign that this house, this room, this window that you have let us down, this is the sign that you won't be hurt. Well, the positioning here is so important. Rahab is up on the wall. She's positioned up on the wall, and she's letting the men down. The position of the red cord is very important as well. The position is so important because it harkens back to the Passover, to where the blood of the lamb, the red blood of the lamb, was going to be over the doorposts, and the angel of death would pass over that house. This is back in Exodus. Well, the same imagery is used here in Joshua chapter 2. A red cord is the sign that saves Rahab and her family. Not only is it the sign that saves Rahab and her family, but it's the same thing that the spies used to escape the city. Well, I wouldn't be a preacher, I wouldn't be a minister if I didn't say that this is a typology. This is pointing us prophetically into the future to Jesus being the new Passover lamb, and how his blood is our Passover. By his blood, we are saved from the destruction of sin, of death, and by his blood we have eternal life. Joshua chapter 2 is amazing. Look at it for yourself. Study yourself. Tell me what you find. I'd be interested to find out.